Ladies, dear gentlemen, I have a special honor and privilege today to launch the EU-Moldova Private Sector Investment Conference, organized by the EU Commission, DG NEAR, and the European Business Association in the Republic of Moldova. By saying this, we consider this event opened. Today we have a special privilege to have with us Ms. Adrian Kirali, Director, Neighborhood East and Institution Building, DG NEAR, European Commission, and we kindly welcome you, Madam Director, so let's welcome with the Moldovan warm applauses. Welcome to Moldova. With a very important delegation from the DG NEAR. Thank you for joining us today. Your Excellencies, dear ladies, dear gentlemen, the Republic of Moldova is a very privileged country today to be a candidate in the integration process to the European Union. It's a very important commitment for us, it's a historical moment for us, and it's a very high-level responsibility of each of us. Today's event, EU-Moldova Private Sector Investment Conference, fits extremely well into this important journey that the Republic of Moldova and its citizens assumed. The event will create a huge opportunity for all of us to find out extremely relevant and important information about funding opportunities, about investments, upcoming investments, but will also explain the upcoming path related to legal harmonization in the first half of the day, whereas in the second half of the day we have three important breakout sessions on digitalization, on agri-food, and of course about energy and renewables, which are of course the priorities in the economic development of the Republic of Moldova. So without keeping you too long, allow me to welcome Mr. Yanis Mazeiks, head of the EU delegation to the Republic of Moldova and honorary president of the European Business Association. Your Excellency, Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Dear Deputy Prime Minister, dear Adrian, dear participants, very good morning to you. Bună dimineața. It is a great pleasure to me to open the EU-Moldova Private Sector Mobilization Conference, because it builds on the momentum that we have in the relations between the European Union and the Republic of Moldova. This is, of course, the first big building block was the granting of the candidate country status in 2022, but even more importantly, the decision of the European Council to start the accession negotiations in December last year. And this is a historical development of our relations, which means new opportunities for the country. And it also is the start of a series of irreversible steps that will bring the Republic of Moldova as a full-fledged member of the European Union in the future. Besides the symbolism of the EU candidate country status and the accession negotiations, this process of accession brings new opportunities, new challenges, and an enormous amount of work in the coming years. This work will need both from the EU, from the government, and from the business community as well. The reforms process is what is at the core of these processes, and this will bring, among other things, also the transposition of the EU acquis and the implementation of that acquis, which is even more important. This will also mean the need for strong and independent institutions and regulators. And all of this will not only make the country more prosperous, more resilient, but also it will make it as a better investment destination. Structural reforms, in particular in justice reform, are essential for attracting private sector investments. Implementation of rule of law and access to fair and unbiased justice proceedings, along with predictable legal environment and transparency in the law adoption process, are indeed legitimate expectations from the business sector, as they are legitimate expectations from all citizens of the country. The EU-Moldova Association Agreement and DCFTA have demonstrated already significant benefits for the Moldovan economy. The integration has resulted in nearly doubled exports of Moldovan goods to the EU market since 2014, and has increased private sector investments, has allowed for adoption of new technologies and standards, and has improved competitiveness in both domestic and international markets. The mutual recognition of EU-Moldova authorized economic operators is one of the latest examples how alignment with EU regulations facilitates Moldova's economic integration and provides additional advantages for business. Furthermore, the EU has played a crucial role in helping mitigate the effects of Russia's military aggression in Ukraine, and that for Moldova has meant support for macro-financial and energy stability. EU has provided assistance to ensure Moldovan exports with tariff-free exports of agricultural products to the EU market, and has liberalized the road transportation services with commitment to further permanent liberalization that would offer predictability for economic operators. Participation by Moldova in different EU programs such as Single Market Programme, Digital Europe Programme and Horizon Europe will strengthen the links of your country with the EU business and innovation ecosystem, and thus will increase the competitiveness of Moldova. Support to the private sector investment with focus on green and digital economic transition remains a priority in our assistance to Moldova. This will build on already proved success of the EU for Business approach, integrating three main pillars of action: access to finance, business development services, and business enabling environment. And we have a particular pleasure to have colleagues from the European Commission today who will be able to display how private sector can leverage EU financial instruments under the European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus, EFSD Plus. I would like to thank you all for being part of this conference, and special thanks to the EU business representatives who have joined us in a rather short notice. And I'm sure that today's presentations, discussions and networking will be helpful for everyone to understand where the country is heading and what are the new opportunities that the EU has opened for you. Thank you very much.
Dear ladies, dear gentlemen, we would like to use this opportunity and to express our warm and very high-level gratitude to the EU delegation and the whole team in the Republic of Moldova, and the EU Commission, which is really offering a huge support to the Republic of Moldova. We also have a very high-level representation of the EU member states' embassies here, who are providing a lot of bilateral support to the business development of the Republic of Moldova, which is in this very critical time for the economic development is essential. Thank you so much. Using this opportunity, we would like to invite Mr. Dumitru Laiba, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Development and Digitalization of the Republic of Moldova. Mr. Laiba, the floor is yours. A ministry which is now very much supporting the digitalization process, automatization, but also which is a catalyzer of economic growth on the path of EU integration. Mr. Laiba, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Dear Madam Director, ambassadors, colleagues, and of course, dear entrepreneurs, investors, colleagues, friends, it's really great to be here for this introductory speech. And as it has been said time and again, I will repeat it, one of the central priorities of this government is to ensure the economic development, and in this quest, the private sector is a central ally for us, for the government of Moldova, in achieving this goal. Together with the private sector, with the support of our partners and friends, we are determined to realize Moldova's full potential, and I am sure we can do this. I have said it repeatedly, we have said it multiple times, Moldova needs to sustain an accelerated pace of reform of at least 8%. It is not something easy to achieve, but we simply cannot afford to grow with anemic pace that the current potential is. So instead of debating whether it's possible or not, we should all together sit and ask ourselves how we can achieve this, how we can do this, and what steps we should undertake in order to ensure this path for Moldova. Because again, by growing with a slow pace, we are missing out on opportunities and we're losing time, and we are not going to catch up the rest of the civilized world by the degree and the level of prosperity that our people and our economy desperately needs. And as I said, we simply have no choice but to think very bold and brave and to aim very high, because this is what Moldova desperately needs. And in this sense, in order to achieve these objectives, we are putting in place and we are aligning national regulations and standards with those of the European Union to integrate Moldova into the European Union single market, to boost the competitiveness of our companies, to create an environment conducive to investment, generate new jobs, and develop both existing and emerging economic sectors and industries. And our vision is very simple and clear. Moldova is an open, is a free, is a fully digital economy in becoming, and we are building towards it as we are speaking. Day by day, we are moving things in this direction, and we have the support of our partners in the development community, of our partners in the private sector, because only together we can achieve this. To achieve this vision, we require talent, investment, and partnership, and of course, reforms that will increase the efficiency of the existing growth engines, and also to unlock new growth engines that would allow us to propel the economic development to new highs. And I will just point out just a few of the actions that we are undertaking day after day and year after year in order to achieve this. First of all, and I think if you're familiar with our agenda, you will resonate with this. Our vision is Moldova should be no place for bureaucracy, because this is costing our entrepreneurs, big and small, time, productivity, and ultimately money, resources that could be dedicated to development. That is why we are significantly deregulating our economy. Only last year, we have removed barriers to doing business equivalent of at least 0.5% of GDP. At the same time, we have cut, basically in one go, we have cut over 20% of the reporting burden for companies to the taxation office and to the statistics office. We have digitalized over 50% of our public services for entrepreneurs, and that's the last number is 54% of the public services for entrepreneurs are digitalized, and this is up from only last year in May, 38%. This is a significant leap, but we are not stopping here. Our objective is by the end of the year to have 75% and moving on even further to fully digital economy. And my joke here is that I don't think there are some Estonians in the room. My joke here is that we're doing just like Estonia, but perhaps with better weather here. But jokes aside, really, it's not only about productivity. We are aware that bureaucracy goes hand in hand with corruption. And by removing barriers, by eliminating bottlenecks, we are discouraging and eliminating corruption. And at the same time, we are decreasing the scope of the corruption, and also gradually integrate the informal economy into the official economy. in order to treat everyone equally. On the taxation, we have done a few very bold moves as well. So as of last year, Moldova has zero corporate income taxation on retained earnings, with only 18% altogether dividend tax. We do not tax profit unless it is distributed as dividend, and we did it in order to accelerate the development of our companies, in order to accelerate the development of our economy. To put it briefly, if this is a profit that stays in the company, we do not want to tax it, because this is money for development. Moreover, in order to prioritize the IT sector, we have extended the IT park regime, this very special taxation for 7% flat tax until the end of 2035, because we believe IT can really boost the economy, and the beauty of IT and the beauty of digitalization is when it spills over into other sectors, into agriculture, into transport, into energy, into many others, and this is what we are after. On the labor, because Moldova is a small country, and this is why, in order to boost our economy with labor force, we have eliminated effectively work permits for 47 countries. So this means that right now in Moldova, citizens of European Union, of the EFTA countries, of the Western Balkans, but also Ukraine, Turkey, North America, Japan, South Korea, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, do not need a work permit in order to sign an employment contract. Only for the procedure of obtaining a residence permit after the employment, there is a procedure that is to be simplified still. We have one of the most progressive, I would dare say, company legislation, and we have taken inspiration from the same Estonia, from the Netherlands, or from a few other good examples in order to make as much freedom as possible for our companies. It has been signaled to us from the startup community, from the investor community, that our company legislation has too many restrictions. So last year we have just done this reform, and we have high hopes for this SRL reform. It's one of my favorite reforms, to be honest. But also, of course, we have structural reforms that we need to undertake, and we have structural issues that are not allowing Moldova to grow faster. For example, access to capital. Moldova has one of the most underdeveloped capital markets on the continent, and we have to solve it as soon as possible, because this is costing us growth year after year. This is why we are discussing with our friends and partners from Bucharest in order to integrate gradually the stock exchange, the Romanian stock exchange, with Moldovan stock exchange. We're looking now for ways in which this can work, in order to give our economy this additional resource that it desperately needs. We cannot be left with one single alternative, that is bank loan, because this is not going to support the needs of the economy in the future. But also, of course, the big opportunity is when it comes to our integration into the European single market, into the European Union, because this is a serious and is the most important signal for investors in itself. What they see is a country that is moving fast in the right direction, and if we look at the countries that have done it in the past 2 decades, this is what we should expect. So an investment right now in Moldova is an investment in a fast-growing economy that will achieve the necessary degree of convergence with the EU living standards. And of course, as a small country, as a small economy, we have to look outward. This is why we are accelerating with trade agreements. We have huge opportunities from the European Union DCFTA, and here we have still a lot to do, because it looks nice to say 65% of the exports are going into the European Union, but when I tell you that it's only 1,825 companies in 23, I'm sure we can do much better. So it's on us to decrease the barriers at the customs, to decrease the barriers to trade in order to allow as many entrepreneurs as possible to feel the opportunities of the DCFTA. So this and many others, I will stop because I see already but this and many others are encompassing our vision for a country that is the Moldova of tomorrow. This is a vision that is emboldened in our strategic documents like the economic development strategy that is under development, the growth plan that we're going to launch very soon, the strategy for digital transformation and many others that will guide the policy of the government until the remainder of the decade. So thank you for this and thank you for the support of the partners and of course our colleagues in the private sector. Oops, I almost...
Dear Mr. Laiba, really very important message because indeed with a quite low level of details you have mentioned to already reflect and illustrate on certain very concrete achievements that the Ministry of Economy and Digitalization has managed to accomplish so far. Using this opportunity, I'd like to also greet all our colleagues from other business support organizations, business associations that are today in the room. And I think that everybody and each of you could reconfirm the very strong dialogue that the business community is having today with Ministry of Economy, but also with the whole government, which is so important in the process of the EU integration, legal transposition, but also to consider business climate needs in this regard. So thank you, colleagues, and I'm sure that this dialogue will continue, as it will continue with the EU Commission. And today, once again, we would like to greet Ms. Adrian Kiroli, Director, Neighborhood East and Institution Building, DG, European Commission. Please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure for me to be here today to welcome you to our first EU-Moldova private sector mobilization event. And first of all, I would like to start by thanking our partners, the European Business Association, all the institutional partners, and also the business representatives that are here and who made it to Chisinau. We see this as a real unique show of interest in Moldova's economic success. And also I would like to thank Deputy Prime Minister Laiba for all his support, not only to this event, but also his strong personal commitment to the economic transformation of Moldova. This is my first trip here in my new capacity as Director for Eastern Neighborhood in the European Commission, but I need to tell you that, Moldova has been occupying my agenda and my engagements from the first hours that I started working in this position because it was just a few days after that the European Council decided to open the accession negotiations with Moldova. And it is really very important, and I would like to underline how impressed I am by the commitment and the engagement of the government and the lawmakers to the European perspective and to the progress in this regard. But today, we are also here not only to discuss the European path and the technicalities that this accession process entails, but to focus on the business opportunities. And this is very important. First and foremost, we need to see what the business opportunities are there in this prospect of accession. Secondly, we also need to raise awareness to the financing possibilities that we are actually offering through the European Union financial instruments together with our financial partners. And finally, also to look at the market potential. The market potential in Moldova in the different economic sectors, focusing today on renewable energy, digital services, and agri-food. As a way of opening the discussions, there is one point that I would like to stress, that this European perspective, of course, is a game changer. It's a game changer in the political sense, but it is a game changer in the economic sense as well. Of course, from the EU side, we see all the substantial changes and progress that was made in EU legislative alignment, which also the Deputy Prime Minister has said. So this is already a very positive start, and this will continue throughout the process of accession. To the members of the business community, I would like to say that really this accession process is a promise for further improved business climate, which will actually make it easier also for the companies in Moldova to have access to the European single market. And of course, this means that the country is going to go in further on in converging economically towards the EU as fast as possible with the different instruments that we are working together. You mentioned already the growth plan. This is one of the instruments that we are working on. Of course, we are already providing a lot of support. This is also through our economic and investment plan, which is a key driver and has been a key driver of our cooperation in the past years. As a reminder, I would like to mention that we have mobilized already 1.5 billion euros of public and private investment in Moldova. Much of these funds have been invested in strengthening the national road and railway infrastructure, but there was also a lot of investment in the energy sector and also, very importantly, support to the Moldovan SMEs. In 2022 alone, the EU, with partner financial institutions, have supported more than 6,000 SMEs in Moldova. And through these 6,000 SMEs, we generated 385 million euros of additional turnover, which actually helped to create 20,000 jobs in the country. A main element of the collaboration that we have with the private sector is, of course, the credits that we are supporting, and we are actually going to sign an important credit line in just a few hours with our partners from the EIB and the MAI Bank. But of course, this is not the only credit line that we are offering, because there is a number of other such possibilities that exist, through which we work with our partners, the EBRD, Finance in Motion, KfW, or the EDFI. And of course, it is very important that we continue along these lines and to offer possibilities for the SMEs. Now, coming back to the agenda, so today, of course, in the afternoon, we will be discussing many of the instruments that I just mentioned, but also trade measures, financial instruments, and also more in-depth the legal approximation, and also the investment opportunities in three key sectors, which is the agribusiness, the renewables, and the digital and ICT for businesses. So I would like to just, once again, stress how important it is that Moldova is moving along the accession process, and really it will have a full boost to its economic transformation and economic prospects. It is really, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, it's a country that is transforming fast and moving fast, and I'm convinced that it can become the next economic tiger in Eastern Europe, for which I wish you all the success, and I also wish all of you very fruitful discussions today.
Ms. Adrian Kirili, thank you so much for your very inspiring message. We should also mention that actually the DG NEAR becomes a very important, probably one of the most important interlocutor in the process of the EU integration for the Republic of Moldova. So, Ms. Director, we would like to really express our full commitment, not only on the public side, but also on the business side, because indeed it's extremely important to consider the business needs, the economic development paradigm in this whole process. So thank you so much for your tremendous support. I'd like to invite Ms. Natalia Bijan, Director of Invest Moldova Agency, who will come with a presentation of Moldova investment climate. Natalia, here.
Super. Dear Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, dear Ambassador, dear Director Kirali, Director Kirali, welcome to Moldova as well. We will do our best to treat you well, and for me actually the presentation to do today is not that difficult because the message and the mandate that we are taking over in Moldova of EU accession is something that I see and do every single day, not only myself but also my colleagues. And also, as I will show in some of the numbers, the EU integration has already started from the economic perspective, and the numbers are speaking for themselves. Super. I love it when the presentation works from the beginning. I would like first, from presenting myself and introducing the organization that I am representing, the public institution Invest Moldova Agency, under the Prime Minister, that has the mandate to support and assist private foreign direct investors from all over the world who are interested to establish their business in the Republic of Moldova. We are providing pre-investment support, facilitating the investment in Moldova, and also since the beginning of this year we have created a team of aftercare support to make sure that the investors, strategic investors who are already in the Republic of Moldova are having a good business here, a good treatment here, and they have our assistance as well. Only since the beginning of this year, we have tripled the team at Invest Moldova. We've hired professionals and experts from here, from Moldova, that understand the market. But also, I'm very proud that we've succeeded to bring from abroad people with experience that have decided to move from, actually mostly from European Union countries, and to move back to Moldova to assist us in this process of attracting more investments and making sure that Moldova has a positive and good climate for the investments. And I was promising you that I'm going to show you as well some numbers that are kind of helping me bring up the arguments why the European integration is already happening. From the foreign direct investment side, in 2022, 87% of the foreign direct investments came from the EU 27 countries. So this is just simply a number that we're there putting on the table. Not only that the integration is happening, but we see a trust and an interest from the European partners to come and establish their businesses in the Republic of Moldova. But also when we are looking at the exports, in 2022, 59% of the exports of Moldova went to the European Union countries, and in 2023 this grew to 65%. So we are seeing that this is an increasing exposure to the EU markets. And also what is very interesting is that when we are speaking about the EU, we're speaking about 27 countries. So we're not speaking about a dependency on one single nation. We're speaking about partnership with many countries. Out of them, of course, Romania plays a special role because historically we've had very close and warm relationship economically with Romania. So a big portion of this, more than a third of it, is Romania alone. But this is a strong partnership that goes both ways. And because today the event is focused on three verticals, I would like to provide a little more details on specifically those areas. I'll start with agriculture because agriculture has been playing an important role in the economy of Moldova. And Moldova is even now exporting a lot of raw material. So one of the investment points where we know that we have a competitive advantage is that we are exporting raw material, but we want to export products with added value. And we need support with processing of the products that we are producing in the Republic of Moldova. 80% of the GDP we have in agriculture. We're exporting to 145 countries agricultural products. We are seeing growth in the sector. It is 44% of the exports, and we have a competitive VIT specifically for this sector because we believe that it needs the support to grow. And also in agri-foods, we have champions, and I had to just pick some of them to not confuse you with too many numbers. I hope everyone knows about the good wines we have in Moldova. Mr. Alaiba was saying about the comparison with Estonia, that Moldova is an Estonia with bad weather. I also heard that Moldova is an Estonian with good wines. So even though Moldova is the 134th largest country, so we are quite a small country. We are 140th by the size of the country, but we are in the top 20 wine-producing countries. We are the first country in the world when it comes to the density of the vineyards per capita of the population. We are the third world largest plum exporter. And we are the #1 largest plum exporter to the European Union countries. We are the 18th largest apples and pear exporters. And in majority of those cases, again, we are exporting the raw material. So I want to send the message to the universe, but to you actually specifically, and to the business community, that there is a competitive advantage that we have, and there is a space on the market to process these products and to ensure better salaries for our people, to ensure more added value for the exports that we are generating. Even though we are so proud of the wine, it has been already a long period of time since our IT exports have by far exceeded the exports of the wine. In the last 6 years alone, our IT services have increased more than 10 times. In 2023, our exports of IT have exceeded 1 billion euros, which is honestly like a mental threshold and benchmark that we were looking forward to exceed, and this has already happened. And this has happened thanks to many, many international names that have chosen Moldova as their base for the services. Of course, many of them are not yet on our map, and we are really inviting the companies to establish their businesses in Moldova, because we have, as it has been already as well mentioned by Mr. Alaiba, we have a special tax incentive that is saying out loud to the business community that IT sector is a priority and remains a priority for the Republic of Moldova. We have a special incentive and tax of 7% flat tax on the revenues that is also accompanied by a state guarantee that this is not going to change up until at least 2035, which gives the predictability to the business to plan their operations and not see it as an investment for only a couple of years. And also, we have the 0% tax on reinvested profit. And this is not only for the IT community. This is about the whole market, any kind of businesses that are doing their job in Moldova. And by the way, up until today, we see that more than half, much more than half of the foreign direct investments that we register in the Republic of Moldova are actually reinvested profits of the FDI companies that are already in Moldova. This means two things. One is that foreign direct companies in Moldova do make money and they do make profits. And second, that they trust to reinvest their money here in Moldova and extend their businesses with other projects. And to elaborate a bit more on that 7% fiscal incentive, because it's not all the time fully clear how cool this incentive actually is. For residents, which basically means the IT companies, the 7% flat tax means that this is the only thing that the company has to pay. There are no other taxes involved. And this is a virtual presence, so it means you can basically work from anywhere. This doesn't have to be physically in one particular place in the country or even outside of the country. People can also work from outside of Moldova. And we have more than 1,700 IT residents as of today. And for employees, which is also very interesting, is that the salaries an employee in IT community negotiates with the employer, their salary gross and netto is exactly the same. So there are no additional taxes that the employees have to be paying or that the employer has to pay on the for the employees in this kind of countries. The last message I want to come to you with is that please take Invest Moldova Agency as one of the instruments that the government has created as one of those incentives. So we don't only have fiscal incentives, we don't only have products and raw materials, but we also have an instrument as Invest Moldova Agency that is at your disposal, through myself including, to explain to the potential investors, potential partners about the fiscal, administrative, human resources, any kind of resources, permits, certifications, any kind of administrative or strategic questions you have. I'm just making sure I'm opening the door for any kinds of question. Please approach us, and I would just like to finish with the sentence that Moldova for sure is open for business, and we are for sure looking up to our partners from the European Union, because this has been already happening and the partnership has been quite successful and beautiful so far. Thank you very much.
Dear Natalia, very important messages, and dear ladies, dear gentlemen, we have to reiterate once again how important is the investment agency in the Republic of Moldova, with Natalia's tremendous and absolutely gorgeous team of young people, very full of energy, who are really doing a lot in order to organizing the pitch of Moldova abroad, but also to be able to attract investors. So thank you, Natalia, for everything you do. And now, dear ladies, dear gentlemen, we would like to invite Ms. Barbara Banchi, Head of Unit, IFIs, and Investment, Blended Finance and EU Guarantees, DGNI EU Commission, who will tell us how private sector can leverage the EU, European Fund for Sustainable Development instruments abroad. So, Ms. Barbara, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and since everybody started with a little bit of thanks, I would also like to start with thanks. First of all, I think this event is super important because we come from the Commission, which is far away in Brussels, and we don't get to speak to local private sectors in the regions that we cover so often. So I think this is really a very important event. And I would like to thank all the organizers, but also all the audience that is very numerous and that you came to see us and to exchange on that. It's also the first time for me in Moldova, as for Adrienne, but I was already able to experience yesterday. We only arrived yesterday late afternoon, but I already experienced the really good weather, so thanks for that, and the good wine, unfortunately, last night. It's fantastic. I mean, I was really surprised. Then I would like to introduce myself. So I'm heading a unit in DGNIR, which is keeping a strategic relationship with international financial institutions simply because they are our partners to implement our instruments. And we also implement the financial instruments. And we are very well known for two things in our DG. Mostly the people do not understand what we are doing, but they know that we are important. And the second part is that we are not dealing with millions, but with billions. So voilà, that just as an introduction for you to be curious of what financing perspectives we can offer. So basically, I think I'm in charge of the slides, which is good and bad. Yeah, great. Thanks. So just to give you a little bit of an outline where we are coming from, because we also have a capacity to develop a little bit in the Commission. We started out dealing as a real public institution, as a donor, one of the biggest donors, EU, in the whole world. Obviously, we started out with a lot of development and grants. So grants simply giving money for a particular objective to achieve, and then we don't get the money back, and this is basically the financing instrument that we were working for years. Then we started to be really innovative, and we started to do what we understand as blended finance, which means we are giving grants, investment grants, but we are cooperating already with a financial institution. We are blending that grant with a loan in order to make a project cost less expensive for a beneficiary country. But what I would like to get at is, even in this innovative kind of financing instrument, it was very much public to public. We were a public institution. We worked with international financial institutions who gave a loan to a sovereign, to a country, in order to finance an infrastructure project. For instance, we built a lot of networks, transport routes and trade routes, and wastewater treatment plants, and what have you, all sorts of energy infrastructure, gas corridors, etc. And at a certain moment, we realized that, you know, giving a grant and with the IFI, and of course, whatever you mobilize afterwards, the whole project cost is much more than we have initially input into the whole project. This is a little bit the additionality that we were trying to get, and to put together projects that were bankable and that would facilitate actually the project happening. But at a certain moment, you know, globally, the challenges were so big that we realized that there is no way we can cover this financing gap with public finance only. So this is when we have made a little bit of a development step and thought, okay, we need to really mobilize private funding. So we need big private investment capital to flow into whatever financing gap we have worldwide, globally, and to help us achieve policy development objectives. I mean, at the same time, obviously, also, we are not only pursuing SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals, but also we also do the reforms, right? So it's really a package where our investments are also designed to implement the reforms. When we talk about private sector mobilization, I think it's important to understand what exactly we mean. So private sector mobilization was born as the idea that we do need to have private capital flow into development. But then we went on and we realized that when we work with the financial institutions, it's difficult to mobilize private sector finance. So we have to reach out also ourselves to the private sector to have European or global institutional investors. I mean, you have really big institutional investors. For instance, we are in contact with Allianz. I don't know if you have heard about them. They have a lot of capital that they need to green. So they are looking for green investment projects in our regions. And I mean, what do we guarantee in our region, particularly with an enlargement perspective? You have, of course, stability and predictability. So this is very interesting for them. And then we need to find ways and facilitate together with the financial institutions that these institutional investors come and invest into the projects, for instance, to develop certain sectors or find certain sectors for financing in Moldova. This is not enough, right? I mean, just get the money from the private sector is not enough, because there is a whole know-how that we are missing. And the know-how is to engage with the private sector on the particular business opportunities. And I'm talking about the EU private sector. So how do we get the EU companies invest here? What are the obstacles? What is the, and I like the presentation just before very much. It's about the comparative advantage. So what type of comparative advantage will bring EU companies here and produce here or establish a value chain, and how can we have business opportunities brought together? Yes, sorry. I'm still, I think, in the first slide, so I'm fine. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now I can see it there, yeah. So that's why, okay, I was talking a little bit off the slide, but in order to make you understand that we have evolved with the thinking and with the instrument. So when we started out with grants, then with investment grants, and have already a much bigger scale for the investments that we support, we have come up with a new guarantee instrument in 2017, which is much more budget efficient for us, because we don't put 100% of our budget into the project, but we only put a little bit aside, and then we sign a guarantee and guarantee a much bigger portion of the loan or of the project. This happened in 2017 as a pilot, and what we tried to do is to come with a guarantee and say, we want to extend this guarantee to private investors who perceive maybe a little bit of risk, or who don't know exactly where there are business opportunities, and they will get it with the dialogue of the financial institutions and with the EU. So we have launched this guarantee instrument with a little pilot, and we have then in the past increased it substantively to 40 billion firepower guarantee, which is global. So it's not, please, before you think it's 40 billion for Moldova, it's not, it's for the whole world. And we, of course, in DigiNear, we are having a big part of it, but the rest will go to Africa also, and to Asia, and to Latin America. So basically, what, you know, this is a development from a donor instrument more to a market instrument. It's much more budget efficient, and it can also, more importantly, benefit the private sector. Because I said before, you know, in blended finance, it did benefit the private sector, but it was very little. It was really destined to have big infrastructure projects, which is public benefit, right? So here, with this guarantee, we can make the private sector benefit directly from it, and at a much bigger scale. So what does a guarantee do? Yeah. So, I mean, a guarantee is simply an instrument which shares risk, right? So if there is a perceived risk by an investor, we would take part of that risk and facilitate the investment into a given project. It creates what is, I think, very important for foreign investment. It creates certainty and predictability. It can increase bankability. It reduces the need for collateral, which we see in many countries as a very heavy burden. It frees up capital for a commercial lender. So instead of putting a lot of capital aside, you can use it for other loans or for other credits or for any other use. You can have much longer duration of the loan, so it will enhance the tenor, and it could also have a concessional element. This is why we have thought that this instrument is really important for enhancing investments and allowing investments. Now, our guarantee is a AAA guarantee, so the highest rating. It's unconditional, irrevocable, and a guarantee on first demand. Okay, let's not ask the international financial institutions about the unconditional, but you know the EU never comes with totally unconditional. But basically the guarantee is callable immediately. If there is a default, we would immediately pay. It's quite comprehensive, so we cover a wide variety of risks, be it political risks, be it currency risks or currency hedging, or be it commercial risk. The guarantee is priced because I said it's more and more of a market instrument, so we ask a price. However, we give a big development discount. So if the project is really tackling reforms, having a big developmental impact in the country, then we would be very, very generous and give a big discount. As I said before, we do not have yet the capacity to work directly in a legal contractual relationship with the private sector, so we have to work through financial institutions. So we work with the EIB, the EBRD, KfW, AfD, and so on and so on. It's a portfolio approach, which means that we do not give a guarantee project by project, but we look at the whole portfolio, which sometimes can be regional or also country-specific. And as I said before, the idea was to have private investments facilitated and create the market. So there is a market failure, and what we wanted to achieve is the first perceived risk, we take it, we share it, and then you see that it's demonstrated that it was just perceived risk, and the market creates in itself because the investments come in and flow. I mean, the key features are, as I said before, 40 billion guarantee overall global, plus we still do the blended finance with the grants, investment grants. We didn't give that up. We cover the full spectrum. As I said before, it's not only the public sector, but we also cover the private sector. And we have introduced, nevertheless, as I said, instruments from the Commission never come without any condition. So it has to be aligned with the policy objectives, the joint of the country together with the EU. So that's what we have to pursue also with these guarantees. All the international financial institutions have access to it, and we always link investments with reforms, and we also provide technical assistance. Technical assistance to the national authorities, technical assistance to the beneficiaries, technical assistance to whoever needs it in order to make it more implementable. I'm sorry, but I will steal some water from the future panelists. Okay, so just an overview of, thank you very much. Just an overview of the guarantee that we have. We have a big institutional guarantee with the EIB, thank you so much, which is only for public sector. So it's really mainly for the sovereign. It's loans to Moldova, and it's really to finance big public sector infrastructure projects. Think about the latest I think we have signed, or that the EIB has signed, is Moldova roads. So these are the typical big infrastructure projects with the EIB. And then we have, what is more interesting to you is the yellow part, where we have the private sector guarantee, where the beneficiaries are private companies, MSMEs, corporates in the energy sector, in agri-food, as we have heard today. But also utilities and, sub-sovereign type of entities, which are not fully depending on the state and can operate alone, can finance themselves, have a legal personality. Also, these can directly benefit from the guarantee. So just a word on the EIB dedicated part. Basically, we are doing this institutional guarantee with the EIB since 40 years. So we are guaranteeing EIB operations outside of the European Union. As I said, it's really big public infrastructure projects. And I think the private sector, both, the only message I have here, because it's really public investment, is that it's really important that EU companies and local companies participate in tenders of these big public infrastructure projects. We do not have enough European and local offers, participation in these big tenders. We get then something we call non-trusted vendors, which are from the Far East, you know what I mean? So it's really a call for participating in this. But also, I think it's important that the private sector informs the national authorities, the EIB, us, whoever we have dialogue, what is needed in order for the private sector to be able also to develop what type of infrastructure, what type of reforms, what type of obstacles have to be circumvented, so that we can also co-design these projects with the EIB, because the firepower is huge. So this guarantee contract we have with the EIB is 26 billion, and out of the 26 billion, it's mostly 70% is near regions, and only the rest is the world, so the rest of the world. Then let's go to the private sector part, like I showed you the blue part and the yellow part. So now just a glimpse on the yellow part, which is more interesting to you. As I said, we had a pilot project, which was called European Fund for Sustainable Development. And now we have the new, bigger one, which is not anymore a pilot, which is called European Fund for Sustainable Development Plus. So that's the new generation guarantee. But I admit, it takes a long time. So we set up the guarantee, we negotiate the guarantee agreement with the financial institution, and then the financial institution together, with the country develops projects, and then it is added to the guarantee. So that's why we look at the pilot project yet, because you can see that in Moldova we have for the moment 55 million of operations generated by this guarantee instrument, and one of them will be what the EIB and MAIB will sign a little bit later today. It's one of the last operations, actually, of this particular guarantee, and then we will start, of course, with the new generation of guarantees. But you can see a little bit how much we have generated in purely private sector projects in Ukraine, in Azerbaijan, in Armenia and Georgia, the surrounding countries. So Moldova is approximately in the same size as Azerbaijan, but not bad. But it's not enough. We want to do much more. And one of the ways of doing much more is to engage with you and understand how we can make this product, this instrument, much more targeted, that you don't get 55, but much more for the private sector under this guarantee. Okay, these are just the allocations of the new guarantee. So currently we have allocated 630 million to the neighborhood east. It's only the first call, so there might be a second call. I'm not going to go through that, but just to have a little bit for you to see what we have in place and where we still have space to generate projects, and this is already signed. So we have EIB access to finance. This is the one where the signature will take place. It's together with the EIB, and it is a classical support to small and medium enterprises. We have a lot of SME in the old guarantee. EDFI MSME platform is very similar, also bringing access to finance via local financial institutions, so via local banks to MSMEs. And we have an extension which also focuses on agricultural MSMEs, so that's maybe important for you. We have a brand new, a bit of an innovative in the renewable energy side with the EBRD, which is HIBAR, which we signed 1 month ago, and we have an allocation that also covers Moldova. Now, just the last word, and I promise I'm at the end, so this is the last slide. When I'm calling out for, I'm really calling out for dialogue, direct dialogue. So we want to hear from you. We want to understand so that we can also have a better dialogue with our financial institutions, which direction we are traveling. But I'm just saying that obviously the guarantee has to comply with policy objectives and policy priorities that are jointly agreed between Moldova and the EU. I mean, accession is of course one of the framing elements. I also want to say that we still have the economic and investment plans where we have flagships that are still not 100% implemented, and the guarantee can be used for the implementation. The Deputy Prime Minister mentioned the growth plan. So whatever will come as new reforms, as new policy objectives, this can all flow into the project generation of the guarantee in support of the private sector. I think that's it for the moment. And I don't know if you want to allow for some questions or not. But thank you very much. And I mean, we engage, we are there for the lunch, we are going to be there for the breakout sessions, and we are very much open to listen to you. Thank you.
Ms. Barbara Banchi, I think that was a very important and relevant information. However, I'm sure that there are still a lot of questions on how this guarantee system is applicable, how it is issued, how it is working. And for this very reason, honorable audience, we actually have the next panel to which we are cordially inviting you, and in which all of these details will be discussed at a very low level of examples, details, and applicability. We are actually wrapping up this session. And we would like to once again thank our honorable speakers, His Excellency Mr. Yanis Mazik, head of the EU delegation in the Republic of Moldova, Mr. Dumitru Alaiba, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Development and Digitalization of the Republic of Moldova, Ms. Adrian Kirali, Director of Neighborhood East and Institutional Building DG NIR, European Commission, Ms. Natalia Bijan, head of the Investment Agency in the Republic of Moldova, and of course Ms. Barbara Banki, head of Unit IFIs and Investment Blended Finance and EU Guarantees DG NIR. Honorable audience, actually we will have a very important procedure very soon in the Blue Lounge, which is the signing ceremony of MSMEs in Moldova, receive EU-backed financing boost from EIB Global in partnership with MAIB. And Mr. Georgi Shahidze is here with his team. Our really very warm congratulations, Mr. Georgi, for this very important signing. It's a honor, Mr. Shahidze is here, and it's a honor to have you as the EBA board member, but also as a front-running bank to sign such an important agreement. We will have the coffee break, dear audience, and we are kindly inviting you to get back to the next panel at 11:30. In which we will discuss about unlocking investment opportunities and fostering private sector growth in the Republic of Moldova. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you at the next session. Honorable audience, we are kindly asking you to take your seat in the room. We're starting the second session. I think we can start. Dear ladies, dear gentlemen, we would like to welcome you to the second session of the EU-Moldova Private Sector Investment Conference, and thank you for staying with us. We truly believe that the second session will come with a lot of technical information from our experts, from our speakers in the second panel, which is dedicated to fostering private sector growth in Moldova, unlocking investment opportunities. And we have our outstanding speakers today, whom I have the pleasure to introduce, is the Audaz Gerald, team leader responsible for economic cooperation, connectivity and green transition in the Eastern Partnership. And I would like to kindly invite you to the room with your warm applauses. It's Katarina Hansen, head of EBRD office in Moldova. Ms. Katarina, please join us in the panel. Marion Honicke, EIB Global Head of Financial Inclusion Division. Please join us in the panel, Ms. Honicke. And Georgi Shahidzes, CEO, MAIB, Moldova Agroinbank. Mr. Georgi, please join us. Dear audience, honorable audience, actually it's a very relevant topic for which we are here today, and which is very relevant and comes with a lot of field information in the context of EU integration process. I just wanted to mention a couple of facts. We in the EBA, and I'm sure that other colleagues from other business associations in their dialogue with the public authorities are very much devoting their effort, the effort of international but also local companies in the Republic of Moldova in order to boost the reforms, which is the underpinning and key condition to attract investments. We all speak about money, and one of the key message that we have approached today in our breakfast with our colleagues from DGNIA was to release funds not only for the small and medium enterprises, which is of course extremely important, but also to have the opportunity for the access of funds for bigger enterprises who can generate growth through production, through employment, and through exports as well. So, of course, the component presented by Barbara on the guarantees generated a lot of questions, so that's why I think we will need a more detailed discussion in the upcoming period on how these guarantees are working and how the private sector can benefit from them. At the same time, the Republic of Moldova has undertaken a lot of commitment for justice sector reform, even if it's an ongoing one. A lot of things are done on the tax policy. The customs code has been approved. We are very much focused now on the energy and renewable sector, and the legislation is almost there. We are just waiting for the bidding regulation, which hopefully will appear soon. I think everybody is watching that. And of course, it's very important to work on the access of funding, access to funds component, which is extremely important and relevant, especially for the Republic of Moldova, which is very much impacted by the war in Ukraine, and which unfortunately generated an economic decline also in the Republic of Moldova. However, today we want to find out how can we unlock investments. And my first question will be to Mr. Audaz Gerald. And with Moldovan on the EU accession path, how do you see Moldova's investment climate evolving? And what steps should be taken to align its economy with EU standards to attract more substantial private sector investments and sustainable development? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariana, and good morning to everyone. If you allow me, I would like to start answering the question by picking up on what was said earlier this morning by one of the high-level speakers who mentioned that the prospect of accession to the European Union is actually a game changer. And it's a game changer not only from a political perspective, but also, when it comes to creating a climate that is attractive for business operators and investors. And of course, if you look at the history, the long history of the European Union constructions, you would see many evidence of that. Much evidence that accession is a real catalyzer of business climate reforms. You just need to look at the economic trajectory of the Central and Eastern European countries who have joined in 2004. Sorry, these countries have enjoyed a GDP growth of 5 to 6% on a yearly basis for the last 25 years. This is just amazing, especially if you compare with the old Europe, as George W. Bush used to say, if you compare with the economic growth of older European countries. But going back to your question about how I see Moldova's investment climate evolving, I think the trend that we are seeing is very positive. There are, if you look at what has already been achieved over the last 2 years, you would see that there are very critical building blocks that have been already put in place. And what I mean by building blocks is, I'm referring to the fundamentals of the European single market. We're talking about the freedom of movement of capital, of goods and services. And just to give you a quick snapshot of what we see happening now in Moldova, you have freedom of establishment. It was mentioned this morning by the Deputy Prime Minister Alaiba. This is a given. This is already the legislation has already been aligned with the EU Services Directive. And I think Moldova deserves a praise for that, because it's even inside the European Union, this specific directive has been pretty difficult to sell to the European citizen. So now all the barriers have been lifted, and foreign companies, foreign individuals can now establish themselves in Moldova. Of course, there are still some gaps. There needs to be some steps to be taken. There's you need to have sectoral legislation in place to ensure the mutual recognition of professional qualification, these sort of things. This is a process, but at least we have the basis. When it comes to the free movement of goods, which is the second pillar of the European single market, you mentioned it. Since the 1st of January 2024, we have now a customs code which is fully aligned with the European customs legislation. This is great. And I hear from the Moldovan private sector that this is not enough. It's good to have the legislation, but of course the practice needs to follow. Yesterday we were visiting, by the way, just a story with our partners from EBRD. We were visiting a company in the outskirts of Chisinau, which is producing cooling systems for large retail businesses and for warehouses. Very interesting company, but they import a lot of goods, of spare parts from Europe, from Turkey, from China, and they assembled it here in Chisinau. And in a joking mode, the manager was saying, there's a cult in Moldova, which is the cult of stamps. Like the administration like to stamp things, and of course it's for all the business operators in the country, it's of course it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy. And when you want to trade across borders, of course, obtaining the stamps, it's a real challenge, and it's a real issue. And I think this is it was said in a joking mode, but I think this is an example that resonates I'm pretty sure in the room, because this is something that all of our countries have known in the past. But this is something that can be solved. I mean, again, Prime Minister Alaiba was mentioning all the digitalization efforts that are being done to cut the red tape and the simplification effort. And I think it's good that on that front at least the work is ongoing. Then the last pillar, if you allow me, it's on the free movement of capital. I think we are now in an environment where There's no capital controls. The national legislation is aligned with the EU legislation. There might be still some minor restrictions when it comes to capital outflows with prior authorizations to obtain. But again, on this one, we get strong commitments from the government to lift all this. On payment systems related to the capital issues, now by the middle of 2024, the national legislation in Moldova will be aligned with the EU Payment Services Directive. Again, this is a great stride that need to be praised. And I need to mention also the fact that since January, Moldova has applied to the single euro payment area. This is great news, and we hope that by the end of the year, Moldova will be part of the SEPA area. And I think this will be a tremendous boost for businesses and to facilitate, simplify financial transactions. I will conclude very quickly. There are so many reform streams ongoing. It's difficult to mention everything in 2 or 3 minutes, or actually maybe closer to 10 minutes. I'm very sorry for that. But there are 2 reform areas I need to mention, and again, they were touched upon earlier this morning. You know that the 27 EU member states made a recommendation to Moldova to accomplish a number of, or to fulfill a number of steps before the accession negotiation could be opened. One of these recommendations has to do with the fight against corruption. This is a real issue. Again, we are in close dialogue with the government and the parliament to make sure that the anti-corruption prosecutor's office, that the National Anti-Corruption Center has the power, the staff, and the budget necessary to perform its activities. And again, we all hope that this will deliver very quickly. The second recommendation has to do with the reform of the judiciary, and again, I think to give the confidence to business operators that they are working, they are investing in a country where the law is applied efficiently and impartially. I think this is a major confidence building, and this needs to happen fast. And again, I just want to say that this is, I think this is happening, and this is of course very positive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Audas Geral. Actually, very important messages. However, representing a business association and having so many colleagues of ours in the room, also from other business associations, I think that one of the key messages, which is really spread all over around, is about enhancing the capacities of our public authorities that are undergoing this very important innovative reforms in the line of the EU integration, because it's not only about asking for money for the private sector. That's one thing. The private sector has to work with professional, competent expertise and intelligence in the public sector. So for this very reason, using the opportunity of having our colleagues from DGNIA, please, dear colleagues, help us with enhancing the expertise in the public sector agencies, ministries, when it comes to cyber, when it comes to GDPR, when it comes to the Food Safety Agency. Without them, we will not be able to advance. And thank you for listening to us. Thank you very much, Mr. Geral. Allow me to address the second question to Ms. Marion Honecker, EIB Global Head of Financial Inclusion Division. But of course, we are kindly inviting all of our colleagues to comment when you want to add maybe. What are the primary challenges that Moldova's private sector currently faces in accessing finance for growth and development, and how can international financial institutions and the local banking sector help overcome these challenges? And thank you so much in advance.
Good morning. Good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you very much, Mariana, for the question. I must say, after a few years of not having traveled to Moldova, I loved upon arrival the positive mood here. We are seemingly off to a new start, a promising start, full of energy. Much has changed, so congratulations to this, and it's so good to be back. I know, Mariana, you are asking the questions here, but I would nonetheless like to start with 2 questions myself that we should be asking ourselves, but I will also answer them positively, by the way. So what we heard this morning, Moldova really binds itself very much to the fate of the European Union, and that is good news. That is the safest place to be. This is the most promising place to be. And you will be most welcome to do that. However, Europe itself is at a crossroad, and we all know that. We have fundamental questions that we need to ask ourselves and answer them. And as I said, we need to answer them positively. So first, I have two questions. One question, and there are many, of course. One question is, are we able to build resilient economies, resilient supply and value chains, or put in a different way, will we be able to resist the temptations of deindustrialization of Europe, because it's so convenient. It was convenient, and we need to move away from this. So I think the answer to this must be a resounding yes. And another question that I have is, with all the multiple crises that we have all around, will we be able to hang on to our ambition of the green and digital transition? This will be on top of everything else that we need to do, and we need to answer for, not so much for the planet, not so much for the planet, but for our own survival on said planet. We need to also answer that one resoundingly positively. So Moldova's prime trading partner today is already the European Union, and this stands to be reinforced even further. As we heard this morning from very energetic Natalia of Invest Moldova, yes, we are in Moldova into promising value chains, but I heard also a lot the word raw materials. Even if raw materials, I thought at first which, but we are talking about plums and apples and pears. So indeed, inserting oneself into these value chains and moving up in the value chains is really the ticket to prosperity. So this needs to happen. This needs to become smarter. We need to move up the value chains and generate more added value here in the country. Trade in such value chains is clearly, and here the economists are clear, is an agent for innovation. This is provides a strong impetus for innovation, and we need to embrace this. So innovation generates prosperity, jobs, employment, growth. It also ushers in risk, because innovation means change. Change is a priori a dangerous thing. One has to dare do that. And now I'm finally coming to the actual question. What is it that the IFIs can do? So the EIB's, the European Investment Bank's model is one of intermediation through the local financial sector. That is why we are working in different ways and forms with the financial sector, sometimes directly, sometimes through the government, whatever suits best. Always in quest of improving the fate of micro, small, and medium enterprises. And indeed, banks need to be risk adverse, no? We want our banks to be risk adverse. So one thing that IFIs can do, and that is possible by the new instruments that the European Commission has developed painfully with us, what a journey that has been. We need to not only be there with longer term funding, which is missing from the market very often, but also enable the banks to reach deeper into the economy, reach out to smaller, weaker, younger SMEs, startups, and so on. And for that, we complement our funding lines with risk-sharing instruments. The good news in all this is, at the same time, not the greatest news, which is that the market for SMEs here in Moldova is still quite shallow. It is not a strongly penetrated market yet compared to similar markets in the wider region. And the good news in that is there is way to grow. So just a few figures. We have, amongst the Moldovan SMEs, we have 40% that are disconnected from the banking sector, or how do we call this? Well, actually, they disconnect voluntarily. assuming that procedures will be difficult, interest rates will be too high, collateral that will be requested will be unattainable. So 40% of those actually do not even go to a bank to start with, assuming that they will be rejected, which is maybe not true. But they think that. That is the perception. Likewise, there are some substantial population amongst the SMEs that are what we call autarkic firms, that are those firms that in any case will only ever grow if they themselves have the means available. So they aren't even looking at external finance. So this all while the economics are clear again. Growth is founded in external financing. So we need to get the SMEs out of where they are into the space of external finance. So that is indeed a key component to growth, and there's much to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Honicke. Very detailed answer. Indeed, I think that the private sector is now focused on what would be the financial instruments coming in the EU integration. We have a remarkable example of Romania, immediate next state, and a lot of Moldovan businesses have expanded in Romania and everything they hear in Romania, but we have developed with pre-accession funds. So the question in the room is when the pre-accession funds will come to Moldova. So if you somehow have this opportunity to come with an answer today, I think you will be applauded very much. So indeed, also cooperation with a sustainable and credible institution, that's another topic in the whole process. And thank you very much for your answer. Ms. Honicke, Ms. Katarina Hansen, head of EBRD office in Moldova, with whom we already have a very, very fruitful cooperation, which is also covering various topics, but the support to business climate development and the support that the EBRD is offering to the Prime Minister Economic Council, in which we can promote a lot of reforms, is very highly appreciated. Thank you very much, Katarina. The question to you would be, what role do you see for foreign direct investments in Moldova, and how can IFIs and the banking sector facilitate a more favorable environment for attracting FDIs?
Thank you very much. Very nice to see you all here today. First, when we talk about FDI, we have to acknowledge that this is an area where there is competition in the market. So there are lots of countries in Europe and beyond that are looking to attract foreign direct investments. New companies, established companies from Europe, for example, to come and work out of their countries. There is also a trend of nearshoring or friendshoring, you may call it. Now, in order to make this as attractive as possible, there needs to be a very close dialogue between the governments and the business segment. And this is what we're doing, for example, through the business associations and also through the Economic Council by the Prime Minister's Office. This needs to be as intensive as ever possible for success in attracting FDI. Because the companies that come in, they need to feel heard. It's very important that when they have systemic issues, that these are addressed promptly. Now, what can we do? I'm very, very pleased to see that there are so many business delegations and so many foreign companies that do come to Chisinau to explore what can be done here and how we can help. I have had probably 5 groups of investors since over the last month and a half, and it's really nice to see the intense interest in the country. We need to really make sure that we capture their interest and bring it forward and help them along the way. So here I think also Invest Moldova is a great example where they can get some tangible help. The financing is of course also super important, and here the IFIs play a very crucial role because we can provide finance together with the local banks, which is great when we do that because we can bring in even more finance for companies, but we can also bring in longer tenors, which is very important when you do a huge investment. So with the EU guarantees that were just explained to us, we are able to provide better pricing, which is again a very positive measure. We do not think that investing in Moldova is risky. We think that we take Moldova risk regardless of what happens in the region, and I think this is a very important message to pass. I think, Marianne, if you would like to continue this, or Georgi? So.
I think that we will continue this also with Georgie, but if you want to cover maybe another question, that's okay, we can get back. Thank you very much, dear Katarina. And yeah, the question actually was to this one, if you can also go on for this one, because it's very relevant to what you do, Mr. Shahidze. But also considering the importance of small and medium-sized enterprises to Moldova's economy, which financial instruments and support programs do you offer to boost SMEs investments in Moldova? So I think that you can take both.
It's still morning. Good morning again, everyone. And thanks for this opportunity. I think few things. Let me start with our view about Moldova going to EU. I think it's clearly once in a century opportunity from our perspective, providing the predictable environment, the access to larger market, political stability, science, and so on. I mean, you name it, every single argument, even access to subsidies, if I may. This is once in a century opportunity for Moldova and for Moldovan businesses. And we are very pleased to see that Moldovan export already 60% goes to EU. This has doubled in the last 5-7 years, and it's growing each year. So this is clearly right direction. And that clearly then can be broken down across all the industries and especially the SMEs. When we speak about the SMEs, we at MAIP have identified 3 obstacles for SMEs to grow faster. I mean, they are growing, they've been growing last year, they were growing last year and the year before, but considering the geopolitics, I think we want them to grow faster. And for them to grow faster, we see three obstacles. Number one is overall sentiment and the mood related to the geopolitics, and whether they have today the appetite to invest more and whether they want to start investing in new projects. Last 2 years, we mostly saw working capital loan applications in our loan book, which means that they just wanted to support their ongoing business. This year we already started to see the investment loan applications, which means that the sentiment is improving. I think in this area we all have the role, show to everyone that the European path for Moldova is clearly very upside, very positive. I like what NBM Governor Dragu says, that either invest you today in Moldova or you will be regretting in 3-5 years time. So the sentiment one is something that we all need to solve. And there is no easy way of solving it, but all of us providing more confident access to funding and the exemplary investments, success stories is something that will address this one. The second one is the absence of the collateral. Not every SMEs have the collateral. And in this regard, I'd like to thank EBRD, who is our shareholder and the lender. Of course, EIB, we just signed the loan agreement and the guarantee facility agreement. The government has the 373 program, which addresses this point. I think we need more programs, more fine-tuned programs to address this challenge, that the SMEs not always have the collateral. We as the bank, we cannot give them a loan without collateral always, especially for the SME loans, especially for the ones that have been established recently. So each program which supports us to decrease the requirement to the collateral is just another step towards the SME to grow. This is why the 44 million guarantee that we signed like 1 hour ago is so crucial. I think it's even more important than the loan that we signed, the 50 million, which is clearly straightforward loan, just to give the loans to the customers. So for this, thank you again for making this possible. So the second one is that we really need to address the problem of the collateral. The third one and this is equally important in our view, this is access to alternative capital or access to alternative funding. And today many speakers have said that in Moldova capital market just does not exist, it's kind of zero. We do regulate it, by the way, but then it is zero. The access to capital market or access to alternative fundings or access to FDIs is crucial for SMEs to get more money, to have more confidence, to have more buffer, to borrow more and to move on. In this regard, this is why we hugely support the initiative of integrating capital markets of Moldova and Romania. I mean, Moldova has this unique chance to access Romanian deep, developed, growing capital market, who just says that, listen, if Moldovan companies want to come here and get equity, get debt, we are here to help. So this chance needs to be addressed. So if we start addressing these three areas, we believe the sector will grow faster, achieving the rates that we all want them to see.
Yeah, Georgie, thank you for such a very concrete answer, which is coming with a couple of conditions in order to make the things happening. And thank you, dear speakers, for very concrete responses to our questions. Actually, because I have also received some signs from the room for opening and letting some questions coming from the room. If you don't mind, let's try to answer some of the questions. Ms. Carolina Bugayan, Director General of Moldcel, Moldova, the mobile telephony operator, and Deputy President of EBA. Who can help me, guys? Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mariana and all of the panelists, and also the opening speeches that we have before. I would like to come back to Mariana's question, when the European funds, the accession funds, will be pre-opened. And we had a very excellent presentation of Ms. Barbara Bansky earlier, and everything we have been talking about is again supporting small and medium enterprises. At the same time, big infrastructure companies that are very critical for the country's way ahead for connectivity and digitalization. And we also have heard that one of the flagship sectors of priority will be connectivity. So how do we see the more opening for supporting private sector that is also a foreign investors? They have also risked while being here in Moldova. What would be the further practical steps that we could look at and expect? Besides the capital markets that, yes, it is also an option, but it is a more longer term option at the same time. And yeah, thank you very much. Who would like to take this?
Thank you, Carolina. It's about the time perspective also. We understand that the negotiations are on the way. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So the beginning of the question was about when Moldova could access accession funds, and on this one, I think there are some myths to be debunked a little bit, if you allow me. It's not that the accession funds are much different from the currently available funds in terms of volumes or in terms of modalities. I think there's a lot of financial efforts that are being made by the 27 EU member states to support Moldova. You know, year after year, we see the what we call the bilateral allocation, so the financial allocation from the EU budget going to Moldova increase, and I think even if you were you know, part of the accession instrument, it wouldn't make such a difference, honestly. Now, in terms of timing, you know that in the European Union, we like to plan things ahead, and we have budgets that are established for 7 years. It's pretty Soviet style in a sense. And now we are working with a budget that will run until 2027. So unfortunately, actually it's not unfortunately, but the reality is that until 2027, Moldova will remain under the current system, if you like, and beyond that, because it is an enlargement, it's on an accession path, it will most likely fall under the accession instrument. But again, I think you know, in terms of modalities or financial volumes, it doesn't make such a difference. What I want to highlight, though, is that, you know, beside the financial support that you get from the European budget, you know, Moldova is already you know, part of a number of European programs, like the research program Horizon Europe, Erasmus. I mean, there are like about a dozen of large European programs that already you know, benefits both the private sector, but of course, you know, all the talents that exist in Moldova in the field of research, education, etc. So that would be my answer to the question. But
maybe another adding to the same question. Somehow we have been told that a lot depends on the negotiation process, for which we are really very much embarked at the moment and very much committed. It will be launched, so we are at the preparatory phase. Will somehow the pre-accession funds depend on the success of the negotiation process as well? So and reform implementation. Sorry if we repeat, but just...
No, that's okay. Well, I'm not a specialist, but my answer would be yes. I believe that past 2027, again, as I said, Moldova, Moldova will fall under the pre-accession funds.
Okay.
So that would be my answer.
Yeah. So the milestone is 2027. Thank you. Thank you so much. Another question from the room. Yeah. Okay, José Luis Gomez Pascual, the country manager director of Premier Energy Distribution.
Yes, thank you so much.
EBA board member.
That's right. Thank you so much for this panel and for organizing this event. It's a very specific question. The energy sector of Moldova needs to replace all the generation park. I mean, we have obsolete. We are, as you know, we depend of power plants that are not controlled by Chisinau government. Then we are importing a lot of expensive energy. And in this sense, and then we want to promote, and we are promoting the country renewables, okay. And as you know, renewable intermittent energy, variable energy, that you cannot predict with 100% certainty that is going to be in place when you need it. So they need backup power plants. It's called balancing power plants. And for this, there is an issue to be solved, which is, and indeed that was our case. We would like, and we've been working to, and other investors, I know even from EBA, have been working to try to develop a power plant for balancing. For balancing, you need hydro. Moldova does not have the conditions for hydro, or gas-to-fire power plants. Okay, gas-to-power power plants. But, and we've been talking with the team of EIB, we've been talking with the team of EBRD, and there is a kind of ban or a provision that to fund, maybe also to guarantee loans for balancing power plant, gas fire, which is the only way. So, and ignoring a situation in which you can reduce all the gas emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions, in a rate, and then of course the balancing power plant will produce a little, will emit some emissions, but will create a space for renewables, okay, in a ratio 1 to 10. Emissions will be reduced 10, and new emissions will increase in 1. So there is a 90% reduction, net reductions, because the gas-to-fire balancing power plant will allow the deployment of renewables. So the question is, how do you see this issue moving forward? Because in order to enable the deployment of renewable energy, we need to balance this. We need to have these balancing power plants. And so far, the EU funds are blocked to that. So, thank you so much.
Now you imagine what business can ask, you know. But I'm sure that we can cope with the question.
Yes. So I'm not yet an energy specialist myself. However, what I can say is that we have what we call a taxonomy inside the European Union, and it's been the subject of very hot negotiations among our member states. And indeed, as you say, there is a ban on financing for gas-powered energy sources. But then I hear your argument. This is something that is, I mean, what you said is makes total sense. If there is a need for a balancing scheme or mechanism, and that you cannot support through hydro, then we need to find a solution. I'm afraid I'm not in a position to give you an answer now, but you know, we take the point, and actually this is exactly the purpose of these sort of exchanges, to hear back from you. What are the blockages or the hurdles that you feel exist, and we'll take it back and try to find a solution on that one.
Maybe it was not. Thank you first of all for answering the question. Maybe it was not a question directed to you. What we wanted to signal actually in the context of energy efficiency and energy security, that because of the geopolitical situation, we have to channel certain imperative investments in Moldova, speaking about energy independence, energy security, and the balancing is one of that type of investment, which of course needs additional financing and also support on the government side. So of course, even like, we do not expect that the answer is today, but it will be extremely important to consider in the upcoming period, also in the light of the EU integration process and funding such kind of initiatives. And thank you for considering that. If there are any other questions, yes, Yuri. Yuri Fala is the executive director of the biggest fruit exporting business association in the Republic of Moldova, our very good colleague, Yuri.
Good morning. Thank you for this possibility to hear so many good news for Moldova, and hopefully, as our Vice Prime Minister says, we have a lot of friends and assistance. I would like to ask or to highlight a problem. It was mentioned that we need to move forward with our value chains, and we have to develop and to adjust our business and our technologies to fulfill the EU requirements, and also to adjust to new tendency regarding sustainability and Green Deal in Europe, because we need to develop and to have access to European Union market. All the equipment to develop the value chain, we are importing from European Union. And many people are thinking what are happening in Moldova, taking into consideration the war in Ukraine and other political and geopolitical issues. Our question is there any possibility to make incentive for European Union companies that are producing equipment to extend their market in Moldova, to make it easier for Moldovan businesses to have access to such equipment? Because I know that in some European countries they are supporting their exports to Moldova. And when we are analyzing situation in Moldova, for example, for post-harvest infrastructure, they involves huge investments that small and medium enterprise here will not or cannot afford. And is there any possibility to make these programs as incentive for European Union companies to extend their market in Moldova? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for a very pertinent question. Indeed, as you've been saying, we have huge challenges in these value chains, and it's easier said than done to move up on the value chains. And at the European Investment Bank, we certainly know plenty about this, having been engaged in the fruit garden and in the Filière du Vin, where our value chain started straight with cleaning up the cadastre. So, because it wasn't even clear who owned which piece of land. We then moved all the way up through post-harvest losses, through marketing campaigns, basically the first installment, which was the Filière du Vin, aiming at putting Moldovan wines into EU supermarkets, which has succeeded quite nicely, I must say. So really anecdotally, when I came to Moldova first, which was much more than 10 years ago, the wine was rather so-so. Today, this is a completely changed picture. And it has taken a lot of investments. We have put a lot of money through the government, through the banking sector into such enterprises. And we've really gone out of our way to pick up the bottlenecks in the value chains in order to improve quality, quantity, make it reliable, which is a key element for success on the European markets. Now, what you are asking specifically, indeed, it is worth a thought. Should we set up, and that is also a question to European Commission colleagues, should we set up some specific schemes that target specific bottlenecks? We have done so in the past, and if these are well identified and well researched, we can together think about something that is well identified, targeted, and attached to a reform process of the whole sector. I'm certainly open to think about this.
I can add. Thank you. If I may just add on what Marian just said, there are programs that the IFIs are running through the local banks where we have dedicated financing arrangements for certain types of companies and certain types of investments. And there are also trade facilitation funding available, which is very, very conducive in this kind of environment. And in addition, there is training available for SMEs with a wide range of areas. So I think this will help. So I think sometimes when I speak to SMEs, when I go out in the regions, there is almost a bit of, the people are almost like intimidated to come to Chisinau and speak with us about their needs they have. And this is really not their problem, but our problem, because we need to go out more and reach out to people to understand what is really needed and how we can tailor our program in a way that we really meet the needs. So thank you for raising this question. I think this warrants a further discussion, which we can take further among all of us, because it's really, it's an extremely important topic. I think Georgi wants to continue, yeah?
I can, thanks for this. I can just add what has been said. We do have the program called the EU for Business, which is provided from European Commission, comes it from EBRD to us, which in such cases, what I'm hearing now, what you are saying, may qualify as for the grant component as well. I see Andrei sitting there. Andrei, maybe there is a way of following up and explaining the program. So it may qualify for the grant component of a specific program that has been provided by European Commission through EBRD.
Thank you very much. Andrei has the microphone, but Andrei, if you want to take another 2-3 minutes to explain the key implications of this program, or I think in the lunch break you can do this, yeah, for those who are interested. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, one more question, of course. No?
I think the same person wanted to ask.
Okay. So if there are no questions, actually we are about to wrap up this panel discussion. Maybe I can also share some of the feedback of the tomorrow breakfast that we had very briefly. We had an opportunity to share some of the challenges of the business community in the process of the EU integration. Of course, we have mentioned the need to support our public officials, our agencies in the process of the innovative changes that we are doing now and for which the country has committed. It's the access to funding for the bigger companies as well. And last but not the least is the need to digitalize and invest into the equipping the company, because it also increases the competition of of the Moldovan companies abroad. So that's another area that was mentioned today. Whereas when we speak about food safety, which is a more complex issue, Moldova is becoming eligible for export of poultry meat, and we can already export canned meat, of course, after all of the authorizations are being issued by the Food Safety Agency. However, this is an area which requests a lot of laboratory investments. Usually these kind of investments are extremely expensive, where today a lot of Moldovan importers and exporters have to qualify and do their tests in Romania for the simple reason that the laboratory infrastructure does not allow them to do that in the Republic of Moldova. And in the room we have a lot of producers and processors in the phytosanitary and veterinary sector. So another kind request for you to consider about investments into the laboratory infrastructure for phytosanitary and veterinary products, so as we can quick up the process of exports from the Republic of Moldova to the EU. By mentioning this, dear audience, dear ladies, dear gentlemen, dear speakers, I would like to thank you once again for very good messages, for very positive messages. Of course, many more things will happen in the meanwhile. We will launch negotiations, many questions will appear. As for now, we are committed to support this process as the business community. And allow me to thank you. So Mr. Audas Gerald, team leader responsible for economic cooperation, connectivity and green transition in the Eastern Partnership. Mr. George Shahidze, CEO MAIB, Moldova Growing Bank. Ms. Marion Honicke, EIB, Global Head of Financial Inclusion Division. Ms. Katarina Hansen, Head of EBRD Office in Moldova. My name is Mariana Rufa, and I'm very happy to moderate this panel and with a lot of questions and feedback from the audience. Thank you. Thank you. One more announcement that I was kindly asked to share with you. At 12:30 until 2 o'clock, you are kindly invited to the lunch break. And at 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, there will be breakout sessions on agribusiness, on renewables, and on digital. In order to be aware to what session or which session you would like to attend, please get to our colleagues in the lobby and they will direct you to the right room depending on your topic of interest. Thank you so much. Enjoy the lunch.